The gravediggers saw the bird. The Scarberries saw glowing red eyes in the TNT area. Marcella Bennett dropped her baby. UFOs and strange lights appeared in the sky almost every night, and countless residents were visited by strange men in black suits with large grins. And Mary Hyre dreamed of floating presence in the Ohio River. From November 1966 to December 1967, the people in and around Point Pleasant had sightings of a large bird-like creature known as Mothman. But it's what happened after those I-beams hit the water that we rarely talk about. Welcome to episode 2 of this summer's limited podcast series, 100 Days of Mothman, brought to you by the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast network. All summer long, we're diving deep with eyewitnesses, paranormal researchers, scientists, and filmmakers to explore the mystery, madness, and the legacy of Mothman. Our guest today is world-renowned documentarian Seth Breedlove, the creative force behind Small Town Monsters. He's explored everything from Bigfoot and UFOs to the full spectrum of the paranormal, and carved out a legacy doing so. Today we're focused on his two powerful Mothman films, The Mothman of Point Pleasant and The Mothman Legacy. We'll be taking a deep dive into what happened in and around Point Pleasant after the Silver Bridge collapse, a time period that's rarely explored but crucial to the understanding to the full Mothman phenomenon. I'm Bobby, host of the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast network, and this is episode 2 of 100 Days of Mothman. You can watch the full video on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHEARTRADIO, and several other of your favorite audio apps. Or catch the whole series anytime at Mothman100.com. And now that your seat backs and tray tables are in the upright positions, do me a favor and please like, subscribe, follow, and share. It helps me more than you know. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Here's Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters to discuss Mothman after the Silver Bridge. Well, let me start off by saying how beautiful your documentaries are. Not to be a kiss ass or anything, but like the legacy, I said this could just be one of those ambient videos you watch while you're studying because it's just like the rolling hills.
Yeah, I like that. That movie was a bomb.
Yeah, like I thought it was a feature film for a minute. I was like, "Is this a movie?" Is it? I was like, I didn't read any of it. I'd seen Mothman of Point Pleasant before, and it was like recommended. Here's Mothman Legacy for $5. I'm like, not today, Isis. I'll be back later. Yeah. But then, like, you recommended it to me, so I bought it last night and watched it.
Oh, you didn't even have to buy it. I think it's on Tubi for free.
Oh, yeah, it probably was. I was back here in my office, and so I was like, I'll just throw that on there on Amazon.
Yeah.
I'll definitely watch it on Tubi. I usually do at night. Watch something like that.
Yeah, I like that movie, but it definitely tanked. No one
did it really?
Oh yeah.
It's almost like the phenomenon of Mothman itself. Like no one ever did anything with it after 67. December 16th, 1967, no Mothman. I think you might have the only thing that talks about it afterwards, besides just a couple little random documentaries.
There were a lot of television docs. Are we recording?
Yeah, I'm just
okay. Cool. There were a lot of television docs, and I actually like a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like right around the same time that the Richard Gere movie came out. There were a bunch.
Yeah, that really kind of lit the fuse.
Yeah, and there was one that was done in conjunction with that movie that Lauren Coleman is in, and it has interviews with like some of the original witnesses. It's actually like maybe even more valuable as a historically preserving witness testimony than our movie because it has so many of the original witnesses actually in it. Like where our movie we really had to rely on Jeff Walmsley's audio recordings and old archival video footage.
It's good that he had those.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have made the movie if we didn't. Like that was the day I went and met with Jeff at the Mothman Museum in 2016 or 20 was it 2016? It might have been, it was 2016. We went and met with Jeff because I wasn't even sure if we were going to make that movie. And he was like, I have these audio recordings with some of the original witnesses if you want them. I was like, well, obviously.
Oh, yeah, please.
So
I was wondering how you even like broke ground in this particular subject, because when I started looking at it, like I just went to IMDb and you came up, and then 4 or 5 other people came up. So what's it like to do an actual investment production into the subject matter and go, hey, can I sit with you in a room with a blanket behind you for a few hours and you do this for free? Or like,
So I'm trying to figure out. There was a doc. I want to make sure I mention the right the right movies, because some of these, there were movies that were out that I think are actually really good.
That Mothman Beyond the Legend is a good one.
It is good.
Yeah.
The other one is, there's like this 3-hour documentary. I mean, it's not quite 3 hours, but it's close, and it's really well made. I swear to God, it's called Behind the Red Eyes, but I gotta make sure.
I think I've seen that somewhere on like Tubi or something.
Yeah. It's not even on IMDb, so maybe that's not it. Whatever it is, there's a really good doc that came out years before ours that gets real deep into the weeds on the story and goes deep into like the MIB stuff and the UFOs and all that. My thing was like, I know that's all part of it, but to me it was all ancillary in our film, because if we started focusing on that stuff, it's going to take you on so many rabbit trails that you're never going to stay focused in a film, like a feature doc. So we really wanted to focus on just the Mothman, the original Mothman story, and do it chronologically, because that was the one thing that I noticed about all those movies I had watched, was like there was no just simple chronological retelling of the events of 66 and 67. So that's what we did.
They basically just told from most interesting to the least interesting.
Yeah.
In no particular order.
Yeah. What was your question? I totally steamrolled.
No, I mean, just how do you, you got into it. How do you break ground into a town like Point Pleasant? So I'd like to interview you for this, even though it's
it was Jeff. Yeah, definitely Jeff Walmsley. Because
he's a cool dude.
He is. Like, we showed up. It was my mom and dad and I, and back in those days, my parents would just accompany me on all sorts of like shoots, which my mom passed back in 23. So it's like a fun memory now. But they went with me to Point Pleasant, and we went to the Mothman Museum literally to see if I could even make a movie about it. And Jeff obviously offered me those audio recordings, but he also was like, I can hook you up with some other people who've never spoken about their encounter. And I was like, all right, well, which is a big deal, because at that point in time, we had made Minerva Monster, which was shot on like essentially like VHS, and it looks like it. And was a really low budget.
And so was Blair Witch, so don't count yourself short.
Yeah, well, the camera we shot with is the same camera they shot Paranormal Activity with. So, but he took a gamble by doing that, because he was kind of like putting his reputation on. People like that are putting their reputation on the line if they vouch for you. And Jeff didn't really know me too well at that point in time, but he went out on a limb and was willing to talk about the fact we were making the doc with some people and convince some people. The crazy thing was, is it Carolyn Harris? Good Lord, that owned the Harris Steakhouse there downtown. That
I think it was Carolyn.
Yeah, she passed shortly before the making of our movie, and that, I think it was that same trip where I talked to Jeff. I went over and talked to her in the. No, it wasn't that same trip. It was our first B-roll trip. We were shooting B-roll for the movie, Zach and I, and I went into the steakhouse late at night. She was closing, and we talked for a while, and she was talking to me about her son and her ex-husband dying on the bridge. And I was so excited to have her involved in that movie, and then she passed away before we got to making it, which has happened. At that point in time, we had made 3 movies in a row where that had happened. Beast of Whitehall, while we were making Beast of Whitehall, one of the original witnesses passed literally the day we decided that was the movie we were going to make. And then Smokey Crabtree died like 2 weeks before. I didn't mean to laugh like it's funny, but I mean, he passed away 2 weeks before we were.
I laughed because you laughed. I'm like, okay, guess we didn't like
just
Smokey.
Cracking up over people dying. But no, he passed away 2 weeks before we started shooting Boggy Creek, and then Carolyn died during the production, I believe, like before we had a chance to interview her.
Didn't you put for Carolyn?
I think we did.
Yeah,
I think we did on that one.
Yeah, like the beginning or the start, beginning or the end.
Yeah, she was cool. A lot of people in the town at that point in time that I had the chance to talk to, like I connected with, because I grew up in a small town, a lot smaller than Point Pleasant, and I don't know, I always just felt a kinship with Point Pleasant, because even though it's West Virginia, it's, you know, it's right over the river. And also, like, I grew up in Bolivar, Ohio, which is that Appalachian part of the state of Ohio. So I kind of feel like I'm more West Virginia than I am Ohio in some ways.
That explains your proximity to Minerva.
Yeah, I'm not far from there at all. Even now,
I knew a lady who went over to Minerva, and they were doing Bigfoot calls on an app, and they turned the app off, and they started hearing the calls again. Like, turn the app off. Like, I'm not doing the calls.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Get out. Let's get out of here.
Where were they?
It's Minerva.
No, I mean, do you know where?
I don't know.
You don't know.
It was a dirt road. I know that narrows it down.
Yeah, that doesn't narrow it down at all. Yeah, it's funny. Minerva, like, my sister got her wedding dress in Minerva when we were kids. We used to eat at the Doug's Classic 57 on the main drag in Minerva, like, once or twice a week. And so I almost grew up there. But it is weird that town was that close, but I never really knew about their monster until way later.
Now John Keel mentioned he kept mentioning big hairy monsters, and I'm assuming he meant Bigfoot as sightings, but he never went into them. And like, I'm reading a book, you know, and I'm like, well, give me something, John.
He references one sighting, but he says it's the Mothman. He says it's hairy with wings.
He would just casually mention a hairy monster in the woods every so often.
Yeah. Well, he's a super interesting guy, but his approach was so wide open. Like, he just kind of took everything in. I don't think he took everything in at face value. Like, he's not a Gray Barker type.
No.
Where it's like 90% of it is made up. But he definitely, like, I don't know. I like Keel. I'm a fan, but I don't buy everything. And I don't think he would have wanted people to buy everything. He seemed to be pretty fluid in his opinions on this
his
stuff.
writing style and research style felt more like, here it is, you figure it out. This is what happened. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
He was very, very sincere. It felt like I was talking like a friend over a beer or something.
Yeah.
And the way he described everything, like, it was over and over. And I felt like if it was really 100% as dynamic as he said it was, the military should have been all over Point Pleasant. Like the end of ET kind of level.
He also fell into that trap of, like, heavily. God, I don't want to start bashing Keel because there's so many Keel apologists, but he fell into that trap of, like, heavily involving himself in the story, and not just as like a researcher or a journalist, but like in the book, he becomes sort of like the main character of the book by the end of it. And I'm sure some of that is just due to the nature of the way things unfolded, but I also think you have to be really careful in doing that. And you know, my biggest problem with Mothman Prophecies is it stops being about the original witnesses, and you know, it stops being a journalistic look at the Mothman and becomes this, like, tense, like, paranormal thriller by the end of it. And he's getting all these phone calls and stuff. And
has to go down to the basement, look for his line. Yeah,
but he is a great writer. Like we don't have too many people like that in the paranormal anymore, as far as like authors and journalists.
Wish I had his travel budget.
Yeah. Playboy sent him to do that story on the UFOs, and that's what turned into the Mothman Prophecies. He was doing a story on the UFOs around West Virginia, which started in the 50s. Really, I mean, there were UFO waves in West Virginia in the 50s, but that 60s flap in particular was all across the state. How he wound up in Point Pleasant, I mean, he says he just kind of like got lost and wound up there, but I don't know. That's pretty off the beaten path, Point Pleasant.
Started with the grave diggers and just ended up going, like, spiraling downhill.
Yeah. It's a good book. I enjoy it. I try to read it every couple of years because there's so much to digest with the Mothman stuff. And that's why I wanted to make a second movie, because like the Mothman in Point Pleasant stops at 67, but there's sightings that preceded 66, and there's sightings that took place after 67, and I knew there was more to tell there. So we took kind of a different approach with the second movie, and I don't know, must not have didn't connect with an audience.
Well, it's one of those things the audience don't know what they're like. You don't like those people anyway. Like I'm like, I mean, if you like the Mothman thing, and the second one is like the perfect sequel. It just picks up and like wraps up everything like with a neat little bow, because you don't get anything in any other
It's
media.
a little
It features more of the area more than it does the phenomenon.
It does. I'm really proud of the footage, the B-roll. Like, we really went all in. That was filmed. So we started shooting that in December of 2019, and then COVID hit, and we lost half the crew because they wouldn't leave their house. And so it became me and Zach shooting everything kind of by ourselves. And we went on numerous road trips just to shoot B-roll, and so we could get a wide, swath of the West Virginia landscape in the movie. So we filmed all over. And that same year that we were filming that, we ended up filming On the Trail of UFOs, Dark Sky, which is also a West Virginia set movie. And so, I mean, we came out of that thing with terabytes full of West Virginia B-roll.
I think I've started Dark Sky 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. It gets boring.
Well, no, like a documentary. I love stand-up comedies and documentaries. Yeah. And I'll watch them just as backup noise. And sometimes I'll finish them. And so, like, somebody's like, it put you to sleep. It doesn't really put me to sleep. It does the count sheep thing where I'm trying to pay attention to it so much so that it's just like,
What comedians do you like?
Oh, I love, right now I'm into Nate Bargatze, which so is everyone. But I've been listening to comedians since like I was in, middle school.
Yeah. I have a Bargatze story. He's a Bigfoot fan. And so Courtney and I went to see him in Louisville, and she took a package with some of our Bigfoot movies to a guy at the door, handed it to him, and walked away. And inside the package was like 3 of our DVDs and then our phone number. It was like a business card with our phone number. And we left the show after the show ended and went back to our hotel, and we were sitting down in a restaurant to eat. And his manager texted us and was like, "Did you guys leave? He wants to meet you." And so we had left, but we were like, "We can be right back." So
which comedian was this?
This is Nate.
Nate Bargatze.
Yeah. So we jump up and we run back to the venue and go inside thinking there's no way we're going to get in there, because they had already started locking all the doors and everything. And Courtney ran up to some random security guy and was like, "Nate Bargatze wants to talk to us." And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, guys."
Yeah, of course.
And so she ended up handing him her phone, and he called his manager, and the manager was like, "Yeah, send him down." So we ended up going down and talking Bigfoot with Nate and his openers for a while. And he wanted to know about my sighting, like my Bigfoot sighting. And then he was like, we're gonna come to Ohio sometime and go Bigfooting with you guys. I was like, all right. Yeah,
I've met his Nate Aaron Weber a couple of times here in Huntsville.
Aaron's great. Yeah.
And fist bumped him in Birmingham. I came out of the bathroom and went and got some beer, and there's Aaron waiting to go on stage in between Julian and Nate. And I said, "What's up, Aaron?" He's like, "The heck?" Because this is kind of right before Nateland took off.
Yeah.
He's like, "Who knows me?" I'm like, "I know you, bro." So I hang out at the comedy club in Huntsville all the time.
That's cool.
Martin Norman and all those guys.
Is that where you are? Is Alabama?
Yeah, Huntsville, Alabama.
That's cool. I haven't spent. My mom owned a Civil War bookstore, like a bookstore with historical books, and we used to travel a lot. Alabama. The only thing I remember about Alabama, it's like Mississippi. Alabama and Mississippi had the best catfish I ever had.
Oh yeah. Have you heard of Mike Family?
Yeah.
Behind Red. He's coming down here. I'm giving him like a tour of the county in April. He's coming down for a thing in my hometown. I'm like, "Hey, you like catfish?" He goes, "I don't really like it." I'm like, "This is not going to be good."
He'll come around. He probably hasn't had it.
Yeah, he's from New Jersey. I'm like, "What's it?"
Yeah, he's never had real.
He's had mud and pizza, and that's no in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving him like the dime tour. We were going to go to this real big hike. But like, I don't want to take 2 days off work to camp at a place with no running water if I don't have to. So we're just going to go to some caverns that are cool.
That's cool.
And my buddy,
Huntsville. I know I've been to Huntsville, but it's been a long time.
It's where it's at, man. It's the Austin, Texas of Alabama. Lots of people who aren't from here. That's the bad part there. And the influx of Space Force and everything isn't making it any better because traffic is just like,
yeah,
it's great. It's a good problem to have as being an economically viable area.
Yeah. And back when I was a kid, I remember Alabama being kind of like dirt poor.
Still is.
Like, yeah. I mean, like I have family in Bryson City, North Carolina, so I consider myself like part of the South.
You go to South Alabama, it is dirt poor.
Yeah. But it's a cool state. They filmed Close Encounters of the Third Kind there.
Yep. We did I was a film student at Alabama University, and we did some little mini docs and things there.
That's cool.
And one of the things we did was the movies filmed here, and that was like a little clip of it.
Adam Wingard's from Alabama. I don't know what it might be, Huntsville. I can't remember where he's from specifically. But
I work with a Wingard.
Really?
It's probably not related though.
It might be, dude, because I know his brother still lives there and his mom and dad still live there. So
Adam Wingard, I had to look that up because I know that name.
Adam directed Kong versus Godzilla and the second Kong versus Godzilla and the Blair Witch movie and Death Note.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've had Eduardo Sanchez on here before.
Yeah, we had Eduardo on. It's funny, we had Eduardo on my old podcast, Sasswood, but Adam Wingard and I became buddies back in 2017 because of our Based on Chestnut Ridge movie. And then I came to find out like Eduardo and him are kind of like he likes Eduardo Sanchez, but apparently Eduardo has some hard feelings toward him because Adam had directed the Blair Witch movie. And apparently like Eduardo was cut out of that movie entirely. And so it was a little awkward.
I think they put him back eventually. It's kind of something they claim now.
Yeah.
He was such a fun dude because I was looking in to do I was going to talk to him about the Patterson Gimlin costume versus the Exist costume. He's like, yeah, I don't know how they would have made that back then because we couldn't have made a good one in 2010 or whatever that was.
Yeah. Oh, I think the Exist costume's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary as it can be.
Yeah. So is that are you a PGF believer?
I go back and forth. I mean, it could be, I don't know. Like from what you learn from even John Keel talking about the phenomenon of seeing the creature, but it not actually being there, that kind of thing, being a hypothesis, like them being flesh and blood at all times is something that either they are or they're not. Maybe they're in between. But how come that one didn't phase out and no clip into the back rooms like the rest of them do? He just kept walking. But I'd like to believe it. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. There's more. I always just go, I'm a flesh and blood guy. I mean, I'm all about everything, like all the stories. But personally, like everything I've experienced, everything I've seen still just points me to like a flesh and blood creature.
I go back and forth. That's the fun thing about it. You really don't have to commit.
No, that's what I'm always telling everybody that. And then people get like, people get in these camps now, and it cracks me up because like,
bro,
there's terms now for people that think Bigfoot is. I keep seeing comments on like Facebook and stuff for people that think Bigfoot's like a flesh and blood animal. They call us apers.
Yeah.
Apers. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm an aper. I don't know. Or you're an aper or you're woo.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we stop?
Yeah, you talk about fighting amongst yourself for no reason. Like, let's just see if it's real, then decide what it is.
Yeah. Or just have fun. Like, chill out.
You know, I consider it a cinematic universe. That's how I treat it. I call it the Mothman cinematic universe because it's the most fun you can have. I'm like, it's pound for pound, the Mothman cinematic universe is more fun than Bigfoot, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I probably agree. I love that. I get more like, on my own, not necessarily talking about it with other people, but I get more invested in the Bigfoot topic than anything else. But as far as like what I have a much easier time of making movies about like Flatwoods Monster or Thunderbirds or the Bell Witch or Mothman than I do Bigfoot, because you're always just worried about stepping on toes. It's not as bad as Dogman, but
Oh shit!
it's close.
You don't have enough time to start that. That's a tactical bro. I will punch you in the face kind of thing. Those guys are mean about it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you like this?
No, I mean
So
the infighting with the Dogman stuff's insane.
Like, imagine gatekeeping a cryptid you don't even know exists yet.
Yeah, it might be because the subject is still kind of in its infancy and people want to be the ones that are the John Greens of Dogman, you know?
Yep.
But so people want to stake their claim in it, but it's it's volatile. It's very volatile.
I'll tell you why you probably like doing the Flatwood Monster and the Mothman thing the best. It's because there's actual characters to address. It's not like Bigfoot is just all over the place. Like every map dot has 6 of them.
Yeah.
And you can't just pick, you can go. I even made a note here. I said there should be Mothman trading cards because there's like people you have to know. You have to know, the Mallets, the Bennetts, the Thomases. You have to know the Scarberries.
Yeah.
But Bigfoot is just like, it's either like Patterson Gimlin or no one.
The thing about Mothman, and I think is it my favorite cryptid or favorite paranormal story? No, but I think it's the best because that, especially if you're looking at the 66, 67 stuff, it just has a natural story flow that most of these cases don't have, because it has that's the whole point of the movie, The Mothman of Point Pleasant, was that, like take you through the 3 acts of that story from 66 and 67. It's got the inciting event that really blows it up, which is the Scarberry Mallet thing. It's not the first sighting or anything, but that's the thing that kind of puts it on the map. And then it kind of culminates with the collapse of the Silver Bridge. It didn't actually end with the collapse of the Silver Bridge, but that is such a like neat bow on it, for that period of time. And there aren't other stories that have that kind of beginning, middle, and an end. And Flatwoods especially is like, these kids try telling the Flatwoods. When I was doing interviews for the Flatwoods Monster movie that we made to promote it, people would be like, well, tell me about the Flatwoods Monster. I'm like, okay, it's 3 minutes. I'll tell you about the Flatwoods Monster in 3 minutes.
And it may be an hour. We don't know.
Yeah. But the Mothman, you can talk about forever, because there's so much that happened in that span of time too. Even if you're only looking at the 66, 67 stuff, there's
it's like it was written.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some of it was because of Gray Barker.
Yeah.
But it is like, that is the one I said when we were making it. I was like, we're never going to have anything like this again. And we haven't. We kind of went in the opposite direction with the movie immediately after it too, because Mothman of Point Pleasant is such a like focused film. We're really focused on that one time period. And the next movie we made was Invasion on Chestnut Ridge, which kind of with this anthology look, anthological anthology. It's an anthology. It looks at all these, looks at all these different sightings from the Chestnut Ridge of all these UFOs, Bigfoots, whatever. And it was honestly kind of like a nice palate cleanser coming off of the Mothman of Point Pleasant, because we had been so, just focused on this one span of time. But it's a really unique story, and it's got so much to it. I think that's why it's blown up too in pop culture, is, which is good and bad, because so many people the Silver Bridge collapse, getting sucked into the Mothman sphere is kind of unfortunate, frankly. Because I know for a lot of the people that lost loved ones on the bridge, it was not like a pleasant thing that every year they had to hear about how the Mothman was seen on the bridge, like foretelling of the disaster, which there's no record of that. There's no, that isn't really a thing that I think happened. Although there is the the sighting that Jeff Wamsley informed me of, which involved, I think, his uncle or his cousin seeing the Mothman adjacent to the bridge, like the day before the collapse.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only report I'm actually aware of where somebody claims to have seen the Mothman and in conjunction with the bridge.
Yeah, it seems like that it was like the perfect ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, all this stuff happened and nothing. The crescendo they were hoping for with the blown up Army naval power plant. What was it?
It's a. You mean the Ordnance Works, like where they built the?
No,
the power plant. Yeah.
In the movie, they said they were going to blow. It's actually the Harbinger. They said there was going to be a disaster. Like, don't go there. It's going to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out not to be. And then a day later, here came the.
Yeah.
Well, no, in the book it was, and in reality it was the Christmas tree lighting was going to shut down the power grid for the country. Turned out as soon as that happened, Silver Bridge collapsed.
Mm. Yeah, you're more educated than me on that, dude. It's been 2017 that I made this movie. Yeah. That's what I said to my wife before I came down here. I was like, I hope I can remember.
It's fine.
Like what to talk about, because I just did Astonishing Legends yesterday, though, and thankfully we talked a bunch about the Mothman, so it's kind of fresh. But like the actual original story is out of my mind right now. I spent 4 months working on a UFO movie about the Thomas Mantell event in Kentucky, and then I've been strictly Bigfoot stuff for the last 2 months. So that's where my brain is.
Yeah, Bigfoot is like my favorite topic to podcast on. But you said the word palate cleanser a while ago. I have on paleontologists and anthropologists to do that for me.
Mm.
Like, tell me something that really happened. Like, give me a fact, buddy.
Yeah.
Let me see a peer-reviewed white paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I'm so like well-versed, I just finished this book like last week. It's kind of like a textbook.
Yeah.
And I got Steve Ward's book back here. He was on last week.
Did Steve write a book?
Yeah, he did.
I don't have Steve's book.
You need to. Mothman.
Oh, it's got a Mark Randall cover.
Yep.
Oh, I do have that book. Never mind, I'm an idiot. Yeah.
This is like the official Cliff Notes to the.
Yeah. I like it because it shows off Mark's work. Mark's a really good artist, and he's like the sweetest guy, very soft spoken and humble guy, but really good artist.
He makes these characters look creepy too.
Yeah, his art has a really unique flair for it.
That one right there is my favorite with John Keel. He looks like he's gonna throw that hat at somebody and cut their head off.
I think that's the same image that is it's either in our Mothman Legacy movie or it's in On the Trail of UFOs, because Mark did a lot of work for both those projects.
I think it's that second one, because in the Legacy it's like an older version of Mark. He looks like Colonel Sanders a little bit. John Keel does.
Yeah. Yeah, the Legacy movie was tough for us because Mothman at Point Pleasant came out in 2017, and we were the first day of shooting Invasion on Chestnut Ridge was the day the movie came out on Amazon, and we had never had any substantial amount of like success with our movies. They were on DVD, and then we started putting them on Amazon in 2016, and in 2017 Mothman and Point Pleasant came out, and our last movie, Boggy Creek Monster, had kind of flopped. So Mothman was like, we put all our eggs in that basket. We're like, everything we can do to make this amazing, we're gonna do. And the movie came out on our first day of filming Invasion on Chestnut Ridge. We're staying in this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, and we started hearing rumblings that the movie was being seen by a lot of people. We didn't hear rumblings about that. We started picking up on the fact that a lot of people were talking about the movie, and so we started watching the charts, like the bestseller charts. So on Friday, that movie was charting in the top 50 overall movies on Amazon, which was insane. But by the next morning, by Saturday morning, it had jumped into the top 10. And when I say top 10, it was up against, it overtook Rogue One. What? It was like one space below Logan, because they were both on the chart at the same time. So we were we were on cloud nine. So like it seemed like a no-brainer to make a sequel to Mothman at Point Pleasant. And so we made Mothman Legacy. And then right around the same time, we'd been contacted by 1091, who at the time I think was called The Orchard. They were like a big independent production house or distribution house. And, you know, they offered us a decent, what seemed like a good deal. They wanted to spend a ton of money on marketing. And we're like, heck yeah, because we didn't realize we have to recoup all that for them. Because we'd never done a distribution deal, and
just thought you're getting money. Hey,
we're like, yeah, give us all that money. So they spent close to $20,000 marketing the movie, which is more than the movie cost us to make. And so the movie came out and no one watched it. And I mean, thankfully, when I say a bomb, it's been seen. It's been on television in the UK a bunch. It's been seen. It's just when I think back to it, what we expected, what the expectation was versus what the reality of it were two very drastically different things. And we put so much work and time and effort into that movie that for it to come out and no one see it for the first like year it was out seemed like a big bomb. But I'm probably more harsh on it than I need to be. I like the movie. I'm proud of the work that we did on it.
It's more of a work of art than the first one. Feels like it's got more personality as far as diving into the stories. I mean, it's like a biopic on the Walmsleys at the end. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the Walmsleys a lot, and without them, there would not be an STM. I don't think because I don't think we would have made Mothman at Point Pleasant without Jeff getting involved. And if I hadn't made Mothman at Point Pleasant, I don't know that we would have made it another year. Back then, just because I was still working like a full-time job and we were struggling getting going, and Jeff kind of saved the day for us. So I really wanted to do something that was like a homage to them. I like the movie. I don't know that I would put it above Mothman at Point Pleasant. I think Mothman at Point Pleasant is really special to me because even though it's definitely like a more amateurish STM film because like we're still getting our feet under us. It's the first time we ever had done recreations. A lot of the live action recreations were shot with my iPhone, which people might not realize. It's also the first time we used like the art, the animated art.
Who did those? I've noticed who did your animations. That's like
his name's Chris Scouth. He did work for us all the way through. Well, he did work for us back in 2023. He worked on our Dogman Triangle movie. But he was really heavily involved for the first, from that point in time, from 2017 all the way through to like 2020. And it was fun to watch his style evolve because on that movie, people always talk about like how the human characters look like N64.
Yeah.
But I love the stuff he did on that movie, especially the power plant sequence, the way he illustrated the
is that on the third floor where he was walking across the room? That's the one I was mentioning. It's like it's crazy. It looks like an actual professional studio did it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what I'm talking about. We had gone from making these very low budget, and Mothman at Point Pleasant was a low budget too, but it was a huge step up in production value from Boggy Creek Monster to Mothman at Point Pleasant, just because of the animatics and I mean it was a crazy jump, a leap from those two movies.
And the main witness didn't die the week before it started, so it's
well, Carolyn passed, so
huge plus.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to wrap up here, and I really appreciate you coming on. I wanted to hit another point about Mothman that I noticed is the thing was it's called The Bird. Yeah. Until some reporter who watched too many George Clooney movies called it the Batman, and that's the story for another podcast entirely. But it seems like it went through a lot of effort to be seen whenever it was around. It flew in front of windows. Yeah. It jumped. It chased cars like a dog. Like I think that's the reason. I think its purpose was to instill fear. Like there was nothing but non-evil about it.
See, my thing with the Mothman, where I'm at with the Mothman is that there is no it. There's no singular it. In my opinion, the Mothman there were multiple phenomena taking place at that point in time. And I'm not just talking about like UFOs and Men in Black. I'm talking about, I think there were multiple things in the sky and on the ground being identified as one being called the Mothman. I don't know. I think there were misidentifications of owls during that time. I think there were probably misidentifications of other animals. I also think there was something unknown, but what that is, I don't have a clue. You know, like I think I don't know. The Mothman's like a perpetually confusing one because of
it goes back and forth a lot.
Yeah,
the stories get really confusing. Like you mix up the characters, like I said, when you trading cards, because there's too many damn Connies.
Yeah, well, that was kind of like the point of the Mothman legacy, was to say, these people are not saying the same thing. Like less of something in the bedroom. Yeah, does not seem to be the same thing. Not in his bedroom.
That little the sound in the background says, "Hey, I'm like, dude, no,
yeah,
get out." Turn my lights on a little bit.
Shut that movie. There was no rain the other night.
Michael Crichton over here.
But I think it was multiple different things. I mean, if you go to those bird sightings, the bird sightings that preceded World War II, but you know, it seems super similar to the Mothman, but which version of the Mothman?
You got some sightings where they flap their wings, and some sightings where they go straight up. Like what's her name? Faye Report.
Yeah,
didn't flap. Yeah, just took off.
Yeah, but when you also rope in the IBTC Andersons and the markers, stuff coming in, is more than likely either overly dramatized by them, specifically Parker.
But he was a stand-up thing.
Was he?
He was. I think he was the local behind.
Yeah. Sanderson I have issues with too, because he's the one that he made that story into something completely different from what the witnesses actually reported and experiencing. But Barker, when you integrate Barker into the whole thing, it's so complex as to what might have actually happened. I think that, you know, obviously the Scarborough and Mallet setting happened, the Tom Lewis thing happened, the Bob Bosworth thing happened. There's stories and you know, the witnesses in our movie, I believe a lot of those encounters are real. But I also think that especially in the years afterward, you've had a lot of people try to claim their own Mothman encounters who might not have ever actually had a Mothman encounter. But that happens with every subject, you know, so it's not.
I've noticed a lot of that with Bigfoot people is, you know, I grew up in the woods, like real rural area, in like a house was in the woods, and stuff that would happen to you all the time, like in the backyard, just kind of hanging out. That happens to somebody that's not ever been in the woods, and that thing. If you heard two hoot owls fighting, and you didn't know what you were hearing, you would think all hell was breaking loose.
I live in Massillon, Ohio, which is a city. And I'm in a neighborhood. I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac. There's a forest behind my house, but it's like right on the other side of this little patch of forest is other trees or other houses and all this stuff. I hear noises at night that if I heard alone in the woods in the middle of nowhere, I'd be convinced we're a Bigfoot, you know, or something. And there's just weird stuff in the woods in general, weird sounds and
stuff. I mean, animals make sounds that aren't just your usual see and say sounds.
Yeah,
like a chicken makes a sound you never heard before.
Yeah, peacocks. Have you ever heard of peacock?
Yeah, help.
Peacocks. I'll never forget this. My ex-wife and I were in Tennessee. We were on the Parkway, and we had stopped at like a pull-off, and we were standing there, and we started hearing this really weird, what I took to be a call, and I recorded it with my phone, and I sent it to the Ohio BFRO head. And I was like, is this a Bigfoot? And he was like, no, that's a peacock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that's not something I would have.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around peacocks. I've never heard that noise. So
you really don't hear it unless you're far away from a peacock. If you're near it, it sounds just like them squawking really loud.
Oh, really?
It's a weird phenomenon.
Huh?
Because if you're next to a peacock in a cage and it does that, you hear it, but it's like almost like a train horn coming. Mm-hmm. Huh. So you're in Massillon, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the people I know that went to Minerva live in Massillon.
Oh, really?
It's the Massillon's own Bigfoot guy, the kid that goes to the town square and dresses like Bigfoot.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a Massillon Bigfoot mascot. It's him.
Oh, that's
weird that you said that. What if he's like your stepson or something?
Yeah,
like,
no.
You mean Harry? Yeah.
Yeah, this is we've lived here this is where STM's based. We've been here for 3 years now.
That's cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This has been great. And if you ever need anything from me, holler at me. This series is coming out in the summer. I don't know what order yet. You're number 2 behind Steve Ward.
Cool.
Not for any particular reason, just happen to be the schedule.
Yeah, no, I don't. I gladly will follow Steve. I like Steve.
And if you come to I think I'm going to go to the festival this year.
I'll be there. I think we're setting up this year.
All right.
Yeah,
well, cool. I'll go ahead and let you go and get back to your live stream then.
Yeah, we got a live stream.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, man. Thanks.